Welcome back, guys, to our channel. In today's video, we're going to talk about how to get lean and strong as fast as possible, and also discuss some of the risks and precautions you should take when doing just that. Now, caveat, this isn't really the typical video that I would do. I'm not a big fan of these get healthy quick schemes. I'm not a big fan of just take this, just do that, and all your problems are solved. I'm much more a fan of making small changes a little bit at a time, changes that you enjoy making, changes that you can maintain in the long run, and therefore see positive progress and have that motivation to make more progress, make more positive changes. So I'm all about baby steps, get healthy slowly. But maybe you're just looking for a spark, or maybe you're just looking for a way to simplify things. And that's what really this video is all about. How to get strong, how to get lean, how to do that really quickly, following just a few simple steps. To get lean and strong fast, we need to focus on three-part formula: strength training, adequate protein intake, and maintaining a caloric deficit. You've got to focus your attention on workouts that work multiple muscle groups at a time. I'm talking compound lifts, compound movements, things like squats, things like bench press. I'll share a link below to an article on revitalizeyourself.com where you can look at some of these compound movements and find out how to perform them with proper form. And speaking of proper form, that's another key mistake that a lot of people make. On your journey to becoming stronger and leaner, one of the most consequential things you can do is not pay attention to your form. Making sure that you have a lower weight with proper form is far more important than adding weight to the bar really, really quickly. Once you have good form, once you have a solid foundation, only then does it make sense to start adding weight to the bar and start creating that progressive overload to build muscle. So, compound lifts, compound movements. Start with a 2 times a week strength training routine, then up it to 3, maybe even 4 or 5 times a week. As you do more and more workouts, as you go past that 4 or 5 workouts a week, you start to deal with diminishing returns in the sense that we don't get enough adequate recovery to recover from our workouts. Strength is built from the recovery part of the workout, not from the workout itself. Now, speaking of recovery, that's what takes us to our next point, which is protein intake, the second part of our formula for getting strong and lean fast. We have to make sure we're getting enough protein because protein is literal fuel for our muscles. If we don't have protein, don't have fuel for our muscles, can't recover. So maximizing your recovery is what brings us to our next point, which is protein. Make sure you get adequate protein to recover from your workouts. A good starting point for that is 1 gram of protein per 2 pounds of body mass. So if you're a 200-pound person, aim for 100 grams of protein a day to complement your compound lift, compound movement dominant workouts. If you feel like that's not giving you enough to recover, if you feel like you're stagnating on your gains, if you feel you're not growing your muscle, in that case, you might want to up your amount. But this is a good starting point. 1 gram of protein per 2 pounds of body weight, best from natural sources, not from supplementation. But now we gotta discuss the leanness portion. And here is where your diet becomes so crucial. Because to get lean, in order to make our muscles defined, we have to be in a caloric deficit. If you get enough protein, if you perform a lot of strength training exercises, here's what's gonna happen. You're gonna have strong, toned, big muscles hidden underneath layers and layers of fat, which is obviously what we don't want. To become lean, we need a caloric deficit. Whether that be cutting carbs, whether that be tracking your calories, whether that be performing some sort of fasting routine, whatever it may be, you need to find a way to minimize your calories and make sure that you burn more calories than you consume. That caloric deficit is going to help us burn fat. So, recap, 3-part formula. We want to get strong and lean fast. Perform compound lifts. Get adequate protein, starting with 1 gram per 2 pounds of body weight, and adding more if you feel you're not getting an adequate recovery. And 3, find a way to get in the caloric deficit, because none of this will matter when it comes to the leanness portion if you don't get your caloric deficit in. So what are some of the issues with the simplified approach? Some of these issues are simply not focusing on your technique, for example, when it comes to strength training. What matters far more is doing perfect technique with less weight rather than adding a ton of weight while doing half repetitions on really any of these lifts. Focusing on your technique, focusing on your form, that's going to make you much stronger in the long term. It's going to keep you healthier in the long term. It's going to put you at a much lower risk of injury long term. Prioritize form above adding tons and tons of weight to the bar. On the protein side of things, a lot of people make the mistake of resorting to protein supplements, shakes, protein bars, a lot of these really artificial foods. While these supplements might get you the protein you need, they will come with caveats and they will come with side effects to your overall long-term health. Because, first of all, these foods are processed. Processed foods do not have the same nutrient profile as foods you get in their natural form. You're much better off eating a chicken breast, eating some eggs, eating some nuts, eating anything like that. That's going to give you a much better nutrient profile versus supplementation, versus eating a protein shake. On top of that, you never even know for sure what's added to these protein powders, what's added to these protein bars. Yeah, most of these artificial ingredients are labeled as safe, but in reality, that's because we don't really know what a lot of them do. A lot of things are added to these foods, and the supplement industry does not necessarily have to adhere to the same standards that the food industry does. So the ingredients are definitely going to be a lot less transparent, and even when they are transparent, their effects are still often yet to be studied. People have been eating regular, good, protein-rich food for years. Only recently have they started eating processed foods, and these processed foods are what's causing a lot of these chronic diseases. So to get enough protein, 1 gram protein per 2 pounds of body weight, get them from natural sources. Your body will thank you for that later. And finally, the toughest part of the equation is the caloric deficit part of the equation. Ask yourself this: if your caloric deficit is based on deprivation, if it's based on starvation, if it's based on simply feeling forced to do something, in that case, yeah, you might lose a little bit of weight temporarily. You might temporarily drop 10, 20, even 40 pounds or whatever it may be. But if you go down that road, your confidence and insecurity about food will still be there. You would have learned nothing, and you would still have not found a good, healthy relationship with food. And this goes back to the last point about protein. The best way and the healthiest way long-term to find a caloric deficit is to eat a whole foods diet. Throw in some vegetables, throw in some good proteins, some healthy fats. These foods will keep you satiated. Sugar and processed carbs are what make us fat. It's what makes us lose our satiety hormone. Even by tasting sugar or even smelling sugar, our stomach expands. We crave it. It's addicting. However, if you just eat whole foods, if you just eat proteins, if you just eat these healthy fats, you will get a natural feeling of satiety once your body has gotten the nutrition it needs. So, when you're trying to go on this journey, keep it simple. Do your compound lifts, get enough protein, and create a caloric deficit. But do it safely and do it the healthy way. With strength training, focus on form and technique above adding tons and tons of weight. For protein and caloric deficit, get your food from whole, natural foods. That's all it takes to get lean and strong. Exercise, do your compound lifts, get your protein, get that caloric deficit, and find a lifestyle and nutrition regimen that you can enjoy and appreciate long term. Guys, I hope you liked this video. I'll see you next time.